Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's right, people. We are going solar. Finally. This is going to be my biggest game-changing upgrade pretty much since I first incorporated a power station. Hi there, friends and adventurers. As you saw from the intro and the title and thumbnail, I am finally going ahead with a huge upgrade that is long overdue in Terra, my minivan camper. That's right, we're finally going solar. I can finally harness the power of the sun to my advantage. Insert evil laugh. No, but in all seriousness, I have actually been wanting this particular solar panel for close to a year now, and a solar panel in general for pretty much the entire time I've been car camping. So especially now that I'm going to be adding a second person to my car camping trips, and therefore probably using more power. And as some of you know, hurricane season is right around the corner here in Florida, so I can probably look forward to a few power outages as well, and that's why it was so important for me to finally go ahead with this upgrade, so that I have an alternate power source when I'm not able to charge up in other ways, or, you know, when I am stuck out under the sun anyways, I can be productive about it. So before I get into this, I want to send a huge thank you out to the company Rophie for sending me their product. Ironically, it is the exact 200 watt portable foldable solar panel that I had been wanting, that has been on my wish list for, like I said, almost a year now. I first saw the review, I want to say, I think it was the Bob Wells review that first made me put this one on my wish list over the others. It is very affordable compared to the Jackery and the Blue Eddy versions, which are the power stations that I primarily have been using. So I did want to go with a budget third-party brand, but the specs and the reviews and everything about this particular solar panel kind of put it over the top of the others when I was doing my research. So when the company reached out to me and asked if I would be willing to test out their 200 watt solar panel and do an honest review, I said yes. I think I jumped up and down, well, metaphorically, I don't do a lot of jumping these days, and let out an excited squeal, yada yada yada. So anywho, this video, we are going to be learning about solar together, because this will be my first experience using a solar panel to charge my power stations. And I am going to be going over some key features about it, some highlights, and then at the end I'll be giving you my thoughts and an honest review so far of what I think of the product. So let's get in out of the sun for now and get it unboxed and figure this thing out together. Come on. So right away from the box, we can see that it is 200 watts of input. It's a folding portable solar charger. It's going to be 4 folding panels, high conversion, portable and foldable. This IP67 waterproof. We're going to get into that in a minute, but that is awesome. And clean energy. So let's get into this box and check her out. A few more specifications on the back. You see the model number, the output power, again the 200 watts or 24.48 volt for open circuit voltage. You've got your working voltage, your working current. A lot of these, I'm going to be honest with you, mean nothing to me as a non-electrician. I do know I want the 200 watts of input, and I do know that I understand those size dimensions. And conveniently enough, this box actually has the few points that I wanted to make note of with you all. Specifically, let's talk about the high energy conversion and that waterproof rating. As you can see, it's made of an upgraded high density monocrystalline silicone solar panel, and it does convert up to 23%. It greatly reduces sunlight loss, so you get a better conversion rate than with a lot of other panels, so you have to spend ultimately less time charging to get the same amount of power gain. We've already discussed the fact that we have a maximum power output of 200 watts of charging. Now, I do know from feedback and research it's very rare to get the full max amount because all of the conditions would have to be just right. The sun would have to be hitting it directly. It would have to be completely clean of contaminants, so on and so forth. But if I can even get up to 150, I'll be thrilled. This IP67 waterproof, this is what impressed me so much about this model before I was ever even offered an opportunity to test it. With that rating, it essentially means that this unit is waterproof. Now, that doesn't mean you want to go dunk it in the pool and leave it, but with that rating, it does mean that it can get pretty wet and it can be submerged for, I want to say, up to 30 seconds before any potential damage. So obviously in Florida, that is a huge bonus for me because we can get rainstorms at the drop of a hat. It also makes it more resistant to dust, so you have less chance of damage to your panel in general if you care for it properly. Last point I wanted to mention here was just that it is 100% safe charging with overcharge, overheating, and short circuit protection. So let's dig into this baby. I have waited long enough. Okay, I can already tell you it was much lighter than I was anticipating it to be for a 200 watt panel. I've heard that they can be really big and bulky, but even in my weakened physical state right now, it is very portable still. All right, I'm guessing. Okay, here's the kickstand for one, and I'm guessing that there'll be multiple kickstands since it does fold out to 4. Let's see how big it is, but first, we should probably take this baby outside, where it belongs. Scratch the going outside. I'm delaying that as much as possible. Right now, it's about 97 degrees right now. But I wanted to show you guys the inner part here. We've got this nice little protected, zipped up pouch. And this is one of the things that sets it apart from some of the other third-party solar panel brands. So let's take a closer look at these cords. We do have the user manual here that will explain everything in more detail, including how to use, how to connect. So basically you have your main connection for the wire that comes with the panels that is connected to the panels. And the end of that cord has these two little guys. And then this attachment has the opposite of those two little guys. So we're going to connect these two together, and what that does is enable us to use any one of these connections to plug into our power station. Why is that so great? Well, let me tell you. All of the different power stations have different input connectors. Again, not an electrician, so please don't jump on me if I'm using the least appropriate terms. But that basically means that any one of these should automatically connect to whatever power station you already have, at least out of the top players. So you shouldn't need any kind of additional or supplemental adapters or anything to get it to work. I am going to test it out for you guys today on both my Jackery and my Blue Eddy so we can see what differences there are, if any, and if they take different connections. So now let's move this baby out into the heat. right, so you can see them just soaking up that sun. Oops, I have them a teeny bit in the shade. Let me scoot it over. All right, as you can see, we have the panel fully in the sun. You can see that there are 3 little kickstands that you just unsnap and position the way you want. I definitely like the feel of the material. It's sturdier than I expected it to be based on how light it is. Okay, now we're just gonna go ahead and unzip this. I apologize for the yard noise. I tried to wait until it was done, but it wasn't ending. Now we've got the cord and we are ready to hook up to the Jackery for our first test. I already pointed out that it comes with all the attachments you should need to begin with, but here's an example. You can see this is the one that we need for this. All right, we've got it plugged in, and you can see we are pulling in wattage. Difference you can see, we do not have full sun at the moment, so we are pulling in. We've been going back and forth between about 65 and 80. I did get it up as high as 145 on my test run, but of course I didn't get that one filmed. Now we are going to go ahead and try it on the Bluetti and see if it works for that too. For reference, this is the Jackery Explorer 1000. You do want to make sure your power station can handle up to 200 watts input. All right, you can see we have now swapped out power stations. This is the Bluetti EB70S. Let's give this one a try. Thing I wanted to point out, you'll notice I'm keeping the power station in the shade underneath the panel. I don't want to put the power station in direct sun because I don't want it to overheat. This one, this is the one that we're going to want. And you can see we are powering up. Hopefully you can see. I'm hoping you can see that with the glare, but we're currently pulling in 85 watts on the Bluetti. All right, friends, that means we are 2 for 2 on the experiment. Again, I did get it up to as much as 145, so I'm curious to see when I'm in direct sunlight, middle of the day, how high I can get it to go. For now, I am going to get in out of the heat, and I am going to share my thoughts and impressions with you. Let's get this baby zipped back up. How everything stows away so nicely and neatly. All right, so let's talk now that we've had a chance to test things out. What are the things that I thought were the biggest pros? Well, let me start with the most obvious one for me that I was at least anticipating ahead of time, which was indeed, it's one of the highlights for me and why I wanted a portable panel to begin with, and that's that it is so multi-purpose. I don't just get to use it when I'm parked out under the sun. I can use it while I'm in the shade and move the panel out into the sun. I can use it at home base during a power outage when I need to recharge my power stations to give us more power. There's so many ways that I can use this now. I can drape it across the hood of my van. I can control the angle so that I can get the most sunlight. All things that I wouldn't be able to do if I had gone with a fixed panel. So that's definitely the biggest pro for me. But let's talk about the specific panel now. One of the things that really struck me about this particular unit was how portable it was. I've heard so much feedback from so many people that do have solar panels, especially the 200 watt ones, with how bulky and big and heavy it is to kind of lug around, how much real estate it takes up inside your little tiny space, all of those kind of things. So I was expecting something that was going to be really difficult to lug around, to set up, to carry and then, just to fit into my space. But I love the profile of it. It is much smaller than I expected it to be and much lighter weight. I know that I've heard, especially like the Bluetti panel, I can't talk. I've heard is particularly heavy and bulky. I've heard the same thing about the 200 watt Jackery panel versus the 100 watt. So I was kind of expecting, since this one is so lightweight compared to that, and with the material and texture of it, I was kind of expecting it to be more flimsy and not as substantial and not as effective or powerful as the reviews that I had read from some of the other units. So I was very pleasantly surprised that it pulled in as much power as it did and was still so portable. Now let's talk about the second benefit that I think is huge and worth repeating about this particular Rophie panel. Okay, I pulled my phone out for this next part because I wanted to make sure that I got it right. Because of the IP rating of 67 that this panel has, which, to kind of break it down for you, it's an independent panel. I don't think that's necessarily what IP stands for, but my brain just made that connection. So if it does, clever. But it's an independent third party that rates these, and it is basically industry standards with a certain ranking. The first number is its level of dust proofness. The second number is its level of waterproofness. And it has the highest rating you can have for dust proof. And it has one of the highest ratings. I think it goes up to, let me check here. For water, it goes up to 9. So with an IP rating of 67, that is the highest rating for dust proof, which only goes up to 6. And it's 7 on a scale of 1 to 9 for waterproofness, which means, Penny's coming here to help me explain this, that we are protected against the effects of temporary immersion in water. So the thing I love about that, being in Florida, with our weather being as unpredictable as it is that if I get caught in a sudden thunderstorm, I don't have to worry about ruining my panel. Obviously, I'm going to want to bring it in, and I'm not just going to want to let it, chill in the water for an indeterminate amount of time. But I don't have to worry about it getting ruined if it gets temporarily soaked. You do want to obviously take good care of your panels, keep them clean, wipe them down, and really maintain them to get the most bang or the most power from the sun that you can. But you do have a leg up when it comes to protecting your panel with such a high IP rating, which, let me tell you, is very rare for a budget panel. So that's kind of what, when I was watching my initial reviews on panels on what I wanted, that's what made that one stand out to me above the rest and kind of topped my list. So I think that is definitely worth highlighting. So I haven't exactly had an opportunity to take the panel off grid yet with everything that I've had going on in my life, which, if you are no stranger to the channel, you kind of have some idea of. But now that I know it works, I am so excited to do my free camping again, my dispersed off-grid camping, because now I know that I don't need to drive in order to power back up. I still want to be mindful of my power usage, but as long as the weather's cooperating, I can stay in one spot and still have a reliable source of power without hookups and short power, and without having to drive for hours a day to get it back up to an acceptable percentage again. So love that for me. Okay, now for the transparency. Being is that I really wanted this to be an honest review, and I don't want it to seem like I am being biased or anything because of the fact that the company did send me the product versus me using my own money to purchase it, which I was saving up to do. But I honestly have not been able to come up with a con yet. The only thing that I can think of that I'm a little apprehensive about is because it is lighter weight. I don't know, if it's a breezier day or, out in the elements. I don't know if it'll maybe get blown around or knock over easier. That remains to be determined. But so far, I am super impressed with it. I am so glad that Rophie decided to reach out to me to do this review, because I ended up getting the panel much sooner than I would have otherwise. And this is going to be such a game changer. It is just going to completely change the way that I'm able to car camp and travel in the future. Like I said, I don't have to worry about having to drive for hours and hours if my battery's too low and I don't have shore power at my campsite, or if I'm stealth camping that night. It's just really nice to know that when the sun is out, I can actually harness the power of it and use it to my advantage. I think this is going to be a big game changer for hurricane season 2, although I am hoping not to have to put that too much to the test. But either way, I will keep you updated as I go, and I will definitely check back in after using it for a few months, either way, to let you know what I think then. But for now, love it! With that, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end and you found this information helpful or useful, or maybe it helped narrow your choices down if this is something that you've been considering yourself, you want to let me know by giving it a thumbs up to let YouTube know that you found it useful. That would be awesome. And if you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this, as well as more hikes and adventures around Florida and beyond. Till then, friends, bye for now.